Hey boys and girls, today we're going to talk about some limiting factors that are a part of our ecosystems. So we've talked about ecosystems, what animals are there, what plants are there, the food chains and food webs that we see, and the relationships that organisms have in an ecosystem. So we're just going to dig a little deeper into that today. So let's suppose that there are two mice, and they are very in love, and they have 56 pups or baby mice every year. And then all of those mice fall in love and have 56 of their own babies every year. We would have way too many mice. That is way too many mice. But why doesn't this happen? Well, the reason that this doesn't happen is because of different factors. So a limiting factor is an abiotic or biotic factor, so living or non-living factor that restricts the number of individuals in a population. And that can happen in lots of different ways. So one is competitors. So in an ecosystem, different organisms are competing for lots of different things. Maybe a water source, the same type of food, the same shelter, and so not everybody can have it. So there's competition and somebody's going to lose. So that is one limiting factor. Another is disease and parasites. So we've talked about parasites. And, diseases, something's going to happen and they're going to get sick and they're not going to recover. So that's also a limiting factor. The weather, okay? We can have all sorts of storms that will affect an area. Let's think of how we can relate to that. We have hurricanes that really can devastate an ecosystem. We have high wind storms, along with the hurricane, flooding, that's going to cause a lot of issues. So all kinds of weather can affect an ecosystem. Also fires. If there is a fire and it's destroyed your shelter, that is going to really seriously affect you. And the available habitat, and that goes back to competitors. Sometimes organisms are fighting over the same habitat. So that's a problem that can happen, and that's a limiting factor. Also predators. We've talked a lot about predators and prey. Predators are coming after you, or not you, but coming after different organisms. And so that is a factor that is going to decrease that population because it's going to happen. All right, so competitors, these organisms cooperate and compete. So we can look at the hawk and the owl. They're both birds of prey, meaning they are predators. They both live in forests, the edge of fields. They both eat mice and rodents, and they both nest in trees. So they're very, very similar, but they're competing against each other for the same things. So diseases, that depends on where you are, how big an area you have, how many organisms are in that area, how easily whatever that disease is spread, how can it be stopped, things like that. Okay, weather. So like we talked about some storms and flooding, but you could also have drought. If you have no rain for a long time, that's going to seriously affect the area and how hot and how cold it is. Some things cannot survive in certain types of temperatures. Fires. So that's going to definitely change everything about that area if it's destroyed by a fire. And, those organisms are going to have to start over somewhere else. Maybe they can't travel to get to another place where they need to be. So that could seriously affect that ecosystem. And then available habitats. Now humans do play a pretty good role in this because some humans are taking over areas that are, have been just a habitat for animals for a long time. Or damming rivers, clearing forests, lots of different things. Predators. Now that predator and prey relationship can be a balance though, just like we saw when we were talking about the Lion King. It's necessary. It's necessary so those mice aren't overtaking it. Something needs to be out there to eat those mice, and whatever it is eating it needs that food. Okay, so as the prey population increases, the predator also increases, and as the prey decreases, then so does the predator. If there's more food, more people can eat it. If there's less food, less people can be there and eat that food. Okay, all right, so there is a quick overview of some limiting factors that we can find in an ecosystem.